Call to this. Excellent. Welcome everyone to Midweek Matters this evening. And tonight we are thinking about it being Mental Health Awareness Day tomorrow. It is my great pleasure to invite Dr. Ruslan Vasyutin, who is our newest ambassador as well. He has a PhD in psychology. He's an educator, a successful businessman, an active volunteer, and advocate for inclusion. He successfully manages three companies, which he founded. One is DCP Help, another one is Master Goal, and another one is Human Transformation. The latter is a non-profit organization specializing in mental health support. He also is a father raising a daughter with cerebral palsy. He decided to become an ambassador for UP because through his own experiences, he understands the challenges faced by people with cerebral palsy, their parents, and caregivers around the world. And we are very, very grateful to have him joining us. I think that Ruslan's specific experience of being a parent of someone with cerebral palsy is also an insight that sometimes we don't always explore as fully, that we can learn things from for ourselves, to help us all on the journey to living well and aging well. So, Ruslan, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear friends. It's a real pleasure. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Miriam, for inviting me to join your meeting. My story, my actual story, and my newest life started 12 years ago when my daughter was born. And in fact, my life really changed after this event because since that time, I have the main goal in my life to make my daughter happy. And by the way of making her happy, I have a lot of interesting insights, a lot of interesting accomplishments, a lot of interesting experience. And I decided to share all these treasure with other parents, with other people with disabilities, helping them to avoid some problems, helping them to meet challenges in their lives, helping them not only to survive, but to integrate actively, to be really included. So my daughter and myself, we are from Ukraine. And before the war, which started 2024, we lived close to Kiev, the capital of Ukraine. And I tried to do my best to provide all necessary things for my daughter, including rehabilitation, including medical treatment, physiotherapy, socialization, and so on and so forth. Just for your information, unfortunately, in Ukraine, it's still a big problem to get a proper support to children with cerebral palsy and in general to people with disabilities. So it takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of money to provide all this support. The state is trying to support people with disabilities, but this support is quite symbolic. Very often it's just a little money, a lot of information, but some rehabilitation, some equipment, but still the typical family with the person with disability is suffering from the lack of resources and lack of opportunities to provide the proper care. So for me, it was my life goal to do everything to provide my daughter with the proper care. And I've achieved a lot of things, but suddenly the war started. After the war started, we moved to Slovakia and then to the UK. We arrived in the UK in June 2022 and started our integration here. For me, everything was new. For many other Ukrainians, everything was absolutely new, unusual, and we faced a lot of challenges. And immediately after arriving, I created a group of refugees and migrants with disabilities. So we united to help each other and to get proper information in order to get access to benefits, to integrate, to socialize, by all ways becoming a valuable part of society. So, together with my like-minded people, we agreed that we will look for resources to help our group uh, to to be really happy here in new country. So yes, in the process of solving a lot of problems and facing a lot of challenges, I figured out very interesting thing that our traumatic experience, including the war, including being a parent of children with disability, it has very high transformational effect and potential. So the typical attitude in Ukraine, a typical mindset in Ukraine is that having a child with disability is a tragedy. It's something very bad, and everybody is trying to feel sorry and to, well, to support uh, not letting these people suffer. My attitude and our group attitude to this is different. We consider this fact and this situation as an opportunity. And what's more, we consider ourselves specially selected people who are proud of having child with special needs and having more opportunities, more power, more energy to provide this child with everything necessary. So this fact and this understanding of our experience became a base, a background of big research, uh, which is um, which is being conducted now, and it's about the real high transformational potential of traumatic experience. Talking about mental health, we support Ukrainians with disability with special mental health coaching. We united about 50 people, those who have disabilities and who are migrants and refugees with Ukrainian background. And we worked out a special approach, special techniques. We collected all technologies, providing them with additional special mental health support, helping them to feel good, helping them to feel socialized, helping them to see the future, helping them to keep hope. So right now, our services is very popular because uh, it's an open secret that people coming to a new country, they have a huge gap between coming and getting access to all necessary resources, including benefits. So we tried to provide special care, special assistance to all migrants with disabilities in this period of waiting for benefits and for all available resources, helping them to integrate, helping them not to lose hope, and consulting them and giving them enough information and support and assistance to get all necessary benefits. Besides this, we help Ukrainian community, the regular Ukrainian community with mental health support. And the fact is that all people coming from war, they suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, they suffer from depression, and some of them are have serious uh, psychological disorders. So we try to collect the unique experience of supporting people with traumatic experience, helping them to transform it to an opportunity, transform it to a positive energy, transform it to a positive potential. So right now we've got special support and funding from National Lottery Community Fund. They recognized our successes and our successful experience. And right now we provide special support to more than 60 Ukrainians, including those having disabilities who live mainly in the area of West Midlands. And at the same time, we are expanding. We try to support people from other regions. And during the last few months, we became quite a unique provider of unique services for Ukrainians. And we are not going to stop and being limited by this Ukrainian origin. So we already involve other communities like Hong Kong communities and other migrant communities in our project, providing them with special mental health support, taking into account their special needs, their special statuses, and we add some consulting and assistance to this mental health support, helping them to get access to all benefits and to all existing opportunities. So basically, from my personal experience of being a father of a princess with cerebral palsy and being a psychologist and counselor, uh, I would say that here in the UK, fortunately, we've got much more opportunities and chances to be socially recognized and accepted. However, I have a big issue because my daughter is growing and quite soon she will become an adult. And of course, I am deeply concerned about her destiny, about her future. That's why I decided to become a part of UP movement because I really care about her future and about the future of all people with disabilities and especially with cerebral palsy. So I'll try to do my best to share my experience, to create new experience, to create new solutions for the people with cerebral palsy of all ages. So thank you again for inviting me, for involving me in these activities. And I'm full of energy and enthusiasm to to meet all challenges and to create new solutions for them. Thank you very much. I wish all of you all the best.
Thank you so much for that, Ruslan. That was fantastic. Do you mind if we open the floor for questions?
Yeah, sure.
So, unless I'm going to kick off, if that's okay, because some of the things that you said really resonated with me, and I would just be interested when you're saying that you support them with their mental health. How does that look? I know you mentioned a few things, but if you could just dive into it a little bit deeper.
As I've said, we try to change the stereotype, change the mindset of being a victim to being just a special person with special opportunities and special, I mean, being involved in a special situation. So to change this mindset, most of people we meet first time suffer from being a victim, suffering. So, uh, to our mind, that's the biggest problem, changing the mindset. And here in the UK, it is possible to do that because the society, social service, they can support people with disabilities enough in comparison to Ukraine, enough for them to feel better, to feel more adequate, to feel a real part of society. I understand that it is a lot of things to do in front of us, ahead of us, but in comparison to Ukraine, here, all people with disabilities who come here from Ukraine, if they assisted with proper consulting, with proper support, they have much more chances to survive socially, to survive culturally, to develop their personality. So in our case, we use just additional techniques of transforming self-esteem, transforming self-understanding, transforming social position, and transforming the inner personality potential to discover additional opportunities for these people and to let them use them.
And is that done in a face-to-face setting or is that online?
We work mainly online in order to make our services available for more people.
Scared.
Sometimes it's face to face, but mainly online.
And so there were two different directions I wanted to go in. The next one was around, you were talking about post-traumatic stress, and obviously some of the people who are coming from the Ukraine have had some um, challenging experiences while they were there, not only because of the war, but also, a certain number of our population we know have had through medical situations felt they've had post-traumatic distress. And I'm just wondering, with your psychology hat on, how do you navigate that? Because that's quite a difficult area to work with.
Yes, you're right, absolutely right. Um, we often use a mastermind format when we collect a few people, up to 15 people, and we try to define the best experience. And we usually have it from one or two members of mastermind group. And we share this experience. We conceptualize it. We make it accessible to others. We build models that are ready to use by others. And that works much better than just direct techniques and exercises. People share with people. So not hearing these dogmas and lectures from the trainer or therapist, but they're more uh, trustworthy.
Madness.
So sharing these inside the community, small community of mastermind group works best of all.
Ruslan, so a must remind group, what is that? Can you
It's a
explain a bit?
special format of group working. It's up to 15 people. We get together and spend 2 to 3 hours like this. One person is sharing the experience. It could be best experience or bad experience, whatever, problem or challenge. And other people provide feedback, a constructive feedback according to a certain model of providing feedback. So certain questions, certain manner of providing feedback. So we try to use the feedback, the primary feedback from the group. Then the person who introduced their problem provides feedback on feedback. So reflecting on this new information that the person got from the feedback of other people. And then again, the group starts to share the new solutions based on these two preliminary feedbacks. So it's feedbacks up, the feedback on feedback. And Mastermind is a special format, as I said, that allows in a very short time to find the right or the best solution for the problem or challenge that was shared by one member.
Can I take that a little bit further? Because obviously we don't have that psychological skill, but what I'm picking up from it is that the power of the group, the power of what unites us makes us stronger, kind of. Is that the kind of
Yes,
the
absolutely.
emphasis?
And the group feedback is much more powerful than individual feedback or dialogue feedback. So it's a kind of special energy, not just thoughts, not just emotions. It's a psychic energy. And the person who shares this problem or successful experience feels it and consumes it and becomes more strong and more uh, mhm, more I mean view seeing more opportunities and more way outs of this problem. So yes, it's about group dynamics, it's about uniting energies, it's about sharing, and it's about doing something good together.
It sounds yeah, it sounds like something a technique that I used to know about through my work. But the power of the group the power of people sharing their own experiences and their own insights, which I expect is some of the reasons that we get such lovely emails from people who come on our weekly calls here, who say that they have benefited quite a lot from coming to meet other people with cerebral palsy. And what I found most fascinating when I talked to Miriam about our groups has been the cross-generational support that people give, that people don't have to be of the same background or the same ethnic background or the same age or the same sex, but actually that kind of mix allows us all to learn from each other, which has been really, really wonderful. Abby, did you want to ask your question?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's okay. Please. Oh, by the way, let me share one example. I'm a member of Special Fathers Network. It's a special organization based in the US and uniting fathers of children with disabilities. And we have weekly mastermind groups when each father shares some problematic experience, some challenging experience. And usually we work together during a couple of hours to find a solution, to support the one emotionally. So it works perfectly. I can tell you without any doubt that this format is very progressive and very efficient.
And Abby, did you want to come in?
I think that I think that they have already answered the question.
Yeah, it's already been answered that it's a bit like a support group. Yeah. It sounds like for me, the only way to solve a problem is to talk about it or to get people's feedback. I'm going to be really stereotypical now. Do you think that is more common amongst groups of women than it is amongst groups of men? I wondered what everybody thought.
Well,
Brian's nodding. What do you think, Brian?
probably yes.
Yeah, I could hear it. Hello?
Yeah, we can
Hi.
hear you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, yeah, females are more social animals, aren't they, really? You know, it's just the way we're made. Yeah, I suppose it goes back to Antizen and the caveman where the man was a hunter-gatherer and the female would stay at home, look after the children, all this and the other. So I suppose in a way females are built to communicate better. That's in my opinion anyway, from from what I've observed in my job. Well, what I've observed most in my career over the years that females do tend to talk more.
But do you think, Brian, by being able to share, coming on a group like this or with your friends and colleagues,
Yeah.
has that helped in terms of being able to solve problems or reduce anxiety?
Yeah, well, people are they're very ancient. They need to communicate, don't they? You know, we're not a sort of animal, well, an animal that can live on their own. We're a sort of herd mentality. We're pack animals, aren't we? And we need to communicate. And I think by communicating, we use a lot of people as a signboard for an idea. You know, you'll say something to someone, not necessarily to get an answer, but to see what response they give, the way you talk. So yes, being in a social group of like-minded people again, because we all have CP, we all feel it's a safe area, isn't it? Because we feel that we all understand each other better because of experiences in life, So it's a sort of comfort zone, isn't it, a group?
I think that's one of the things that connects us is our background with cerebral palsy. The other thing we know that for some of us with a physical disability, it's harder to get out and meet people, isn't it? Like just kind of the physical access issues. I had somebody
Yeah,
for
yeah,
some.
but like with these days, with one technology like now, the Zoom meeting, Teams meetings, on Facebook, we can actually interact with people. But again, there's no substitute for meeting somebody face to face. You know what I mean? Because you can read the body language better, but you can't always read the body language on the screen, can you? Because you're not seeing a complete person.
Yes.
You just see the facial expressions.
Yeah.
But sorry to waffle on.
No, you're not waffling on at all. That's what this is about. Abby, do you want to ask that question?
We have a question in the chat.
And then, but so, Rustin, after your group sessions, do the parents report that they feel better?
Yes, definitely. Not just feeling better. They have insights. They have insights about new solutions, about new approaches, this new vision, not only understanding, but feeling this new vision. That's very important. They say even that they feel addicted to these groups because during this communication, during this feedback, they not only feel better during this group work, but after the group and in between. So it gives additional understanding, additional new knowledge and new feelings.
And is that how you feel when you're, sorry, I'm taking it a bit further, Abby, but is that how you feel after you've done your special fathers groups, when you've been a participant?
Definitely,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I have to say, I'll share something. So I can't remember whether it was in 2022 or we did a conference at the RSM. I don't know if anyone remembered. We did a medical conference, and my parents came because I was putting it on. And I don't know how many of you have ever seen Lily Collinson, but Lily has a son with cerebral palsy. She was in Ireland when he was born, and at the time in Ireland, there wasn't very much resources for people with cerebral palsy. In fact, I think when he was born, they advised her to go home and look after her other children. I think that's how she put it to me.
Yeah.
But she didn't, obviously. And he grew up, and then she took him to America and he had some surgery, and they now all live in America. But she came to talk at the conference, because she's written lots of books about cerebral palsy, and also as a parent of somebody with cerebral palsy. And the reason I'm telling you that is that my parents were not, they've always been open about the fact that I've had cerebral palsy, but we didn't talk about it a lot. I just got on with my life, really. And that really, that was, of all the speakers that we had on the day, that was the speaker that really got to them. And that's a speaker that they still talk about today. And my dad was like, nobody talked to us. Nobody told us anything. We didn't know anybody else who had a daughter with cerebral palsy. We made it all up as we went along and what we thought was best, but we didn't have any information. I mean, obviously that was nearly 50 years ago. So hopefully things are changing now. But it was a real insight for me, because I thought Lily was a good speaker, but I also thought there was lots and lots of good speakers that we had. And it's, from what you said, Ruslan, it doesn't surprise me that Lily talking was the one person that they listened to and felt very connected to. Yeah.
That's an interesting story, Emma, because in recent days and weeks, I've had lots of conversations with my mother about my younger formative days and whatever. And obviously, this was in the 1960s. And the person from the clinic used to come round and say to my mum, "Is he okay? Does he want any incontinence pads? Is there anything else that we can offer you?" But that was it, very physical level, and very little emotional support or no emotional support. And my mum talked about the fact that when I was born, I was left in hospital and she had to go home, and she was allowed to visit me once a day for about an hour visiting time. And she said how how difficult that was, and now how almost inhumane it was, really, to leave a baby. Yeah, I don't know whether that's got anything to do with what we're talking about, but moving on from what you were saying,
I
Emma,
think it does. I think
and hearing about fathers and parents talking in groups that support each other now, it is so much different to how it was. So it's an encouraging in a way that we have for adults with CP. We still don't get the recognition, but where CP has come from, it's more than a plastic box of a lady standing with a caliper on outside a shoe shop. So
yeah. Ruslan, just to give you, that's a social reference, because there used to be collection boxes around town where you used to give money to. It was actually for what was known as the Spastic Society. It's now called the Scope, but it was for children with physical disabilities for CP. Yeah, I think that's what to bring to. So there's two ways I can go with that. One, I think that it shows that we have come quite a long way, but there's still quite a long way to go. But also that that we still have a big job to do in terms of raising the profile of changing people's perceptions of people with cerebral palsy, of disability. I mean, I think it is a wider conversation that's being had in society about people with disabilities within our communities, but specifically for cerebral palsy, there is such a lack of awareness of what cerebral palsy is, to the point that, with no disrespect to our policymakers and our MPs, the first time that I went up to Parliament, I was talking about Paul Maynard and Robert Halfon having cerebral palsy. They were quite prominent MPs in the Conservative Party, and Robert held a ministerial post. And yet, when I spoke to one of his colleagues, they said, "Oh yeah, he's got polio, hasn't he?" Because polio seems to be more socially acceptable because everybody knows about it, because everybody knew what happened to people who had polio, and it doesn't feel like that he changed that narrative, or that people haven't thought about it. So yeah, I think one of the ways that I think things will get better is when there's more recognition. But bringing it back to kind of the mental health and mental health awareness.
Therapy is scared to take me on sadly. I feel I did think we move forward with the attitude. I use this augmentative communication device. I think it is terrible I'm getting turning down.
Yes. Well, Bill, I agree with you. I'm having a conversation now with the College of Speech and Language Therapists. I think we have just to go on a little bit of my hobby horse, we have a very strange situation that communication is one of our key needs, and it doesn't get the recognition that perhaps other things do, like mobility, moving around. People get very concerned when people can't move around, but they get less concerned when they can't communicate, and we're trying to do something about it. But Bill, you've told me in emails that
think. We not. Move.
Bill, do you think that things haven't moved on fast enough? They've not moved on fast enough for you? No. I know that you've written to me and told me that you get a lot from coming to this group and hearing about all the things that we're doing. And I guess that's what Ruslan's saying, is the power of community support is important too, isn't it?
Can I just also just make another link, just listening to Paul and Emma, you talking, and then Ruslan as well with your special fathers group. I think what gives me quite a lot of hope is that everyone prior to, maybe your generation as parents, Ruslan, everyone had to muddle through without any support. Everyone didn't really know there wasn't particular guidance. And I think, as this is a taboo month, I think there was a lot of fear and possibly a lot of shame, unfounded, but a lot of shame involved with having a child with a disability, because society at the time didn't see it in a very healthy way. And I think that what's really exciting, especially following on from Brian's comment about the fact that women are much more sociable than men when it comes to chatting, is that if you, Ruslan, are part of a group of men talking and supporting each other, not only are they able to be a better father to their children, their partner, a better husband to their partner, but also they'll be learning those communication skills from each other and seeing it modeled. And I think that obviously, you know, that we are, as a group of adults, in this group, are potentially a product of our upbringing and our society at that time. And I suppose the work that you're doing and others with the parents supporting them really does help prepare those children and prepare everyone for a more positive future. So it was really interesting listening to the generational jump. So I just thought I'd.
And it's also interesting, I don't know how you feel about this whole shame that you still sort of referenced from Ukraine, or that, you know, a different attitude towards disability than you found here. Because I don't think it was that long ago that was the case in the UK. I don't know how everybody else felt, but I certainly I don't think I felt it within my family.
No.
But still today, but I did amongst the other people around me. Not that, and that even today, I spent a lot of my morning in the hospital, which is a different story. And when they heard that I had CP, because they couldn't understand why my legs were different sizes and things, the looks that you get, and in terms of and wow, you're still up, walking, talking, you know, like that kind of inspiration. We've talked about it before, inspiration porn, and those kind of attitudes. It still shocks me when it happens today, especially in the health service. But there we go. Cool.
I've said it, I may have said it in this group before, but I'm not sure whether it's true. Well, I believe it's true. I think the Paralympic movement has helped bring it to the front, bring CP to the front of people's minds, because they see people, athletes with cerebral palsy, and they can identify with the sport, and it almost breaks the stigma around that speech defect or that awkward moving or whatever it is. It sort of breaks I don't know, it sort of breaks the taboo, and it kind of, you know, people look at you slightly different. Yeah, they don't just not recoil, but yeah, it's just, and people like Rosie Jones, for example, as well. You know, she's very much in your, very much up there in your face and proud of it. Yeah, and that gives me encouragement to be bolder.
Do you think that helps you? So do you think that helps you with your own mental health, or your positivity towards life, when you get a more positive reception?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I don't, when during the Paralympics, when it was here in the UK, back in, you know, sort of 12 years ago or more, it was really empowering because the stadiums were full. People were talking about the Paralympics as opposed to talking about the Paralympics that were on at 11 o'clock at night, and, you know, nobody watched. Yeah, I don't really. And it's just gone on from there, really. And I think in Paris this year, it sort of made it, reinforced it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's breaking the taboos, I suppose.
Yeah, it is.
Bringing it back to topic.
Abby, you've got your hand up.
I agree with Paul. Pourquoi people media with their
before that, because with the great light, the more the way from the thing. Oh, you got to be because you got them before.
Yeah, I think it comes back to talking about it and being visibility, raising the visibility, don't you? But I still meet people today, and they are usually people my age. So maybe Miriam is right about background, who say to me, "I'm really supportive of what you're doing up, but I'm going to support I'm going to support you quietly because I'm not really out there as somebody with cerebral palsy, or I haven't met anybody with cerebral palsy before, and I don't really know if I fit in or I don't, and I don't want to." So I think Miriam's probably right. It's about background, but I think that the whole conversation about mental health in this country has changed hugely, hasn't it, over the last decade? And I guess having what's his name, William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of Wales, talking so openly about mental health has also helped to raise the make it okay for everybody to talk about mental health. Maybe that's kind of the similar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I? Sorry, Paul, you carry on.
I'm just going to restate it's about breaking the taboos, isn't it? There's a taboo about cerebral palsy and disability, and there's a taboo around mental illness. Within the last sort of 10, 15 years, those taboos are slowly being broken down. Yeah.
Can I just also just bring Ruslan back with a question around some of the work that you do, you said is online. And that makes perfect sense. And we're very lucky to have that now. But on a day-to-day level, if you are not in a community where you know other parents who have children with disabilities, is there an element of isolation still? Or is there an element of exclusion that you feel? Because I know that maybe a lot of people or some people have shared that with me from when they were younger. But I'm just intrigued as to how it is for you in this situation now.
Well, I have a very personal and very strong feeling of opportunities and very positive feeling. So it helps me very much. So I'm not a typical person to judge. However, yes, of course, when we walk in the park, when we socialize, I still see some strange sides, some strange reactions. And of course, it makes me feel not very good. But I have enough power inside of me. I have enough support from my group mates. I have enough understanding inside of my brain about my special position, my special chance, and my special destiny. So probably for me, it's easier to feel and to socialize. At the same time, I know from other parents that they feel not very good and feel excluded in society. But again, if we compare Ukraine to the UK, it's much worse in Ukraine, unfortunately. A lot of old stereotypes, and they are very strong. And some people prefer to stay at home, not showing up on the streets, in the stores, and social places, unfortunately. So here, in comparison to Ukraine, it's a kind of paradise.
I think though, what we've found with our community is that there are certain cultural challenges, even in the UK, depending on your from certain people from certain backgrounds, that it's still very stigmatized in their culture, which means that people don't, you don't see people from certain backgrounds as much. The representation is not as equitable, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So there's definitely still other things that we need to do. But I think also one thing that is exciting for me, because I think that going back to what Paul was saying and Abby about the Olympics, and the Paralympics, if you can't see it, how can you be it? And there was a big near where I live, there was a really big drive to get an inclusive playground. And what that means to me is you're going to have parents and children with different mixes of ability side to side on a day-to-day level. And that exposure, I think, is so helpful to allow depth of understanding and people's ignorance and fear to be allayed, that actually they'll suddenly think, why am I worried about this? It's just a different way of being. But I mean, I suppose my thought is that still needs to move forwards from a wider group of people. So I'm very grateful that you have this special power, Ruslan.
Can I add something that I felt as a young mum with kids? That was the first time that I felt very different, or not different, but that things were more of a struggle. And I joined a group of mums who we had NCT. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, and everybody was united because they had young children. And then I had the same. I had a young baby, but things were more challenging for me. So simple thing, not simple, but if I went to somebody's house, they're changing mats, that I'd made my house it possible for me to have my son and change him and do all the things I needed to do. But when I went out, that became really, really difficult. And so that's when I started to feel, then I stopped going out, and then I felt isolated, and I stopped talking about things. And I did feel, I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but it until that point, I'd sort of been able to manage. And so therefore, I guess what I'm linking our mental health with, and this conversation about having conversations, if I'd have had other mums who I've subsequently met actually through up, who I could also talk to in the same way as Ruslan has his group of dads, who to say, how do you problem solve that? Or what do you do when you go out and you can't change your baby? Or what do you do when you can't fold up the buggy and you need to wait? All of those things. I didn't have those groups of mums who were experiencing similar difficulties to me, and therefore I felt quite anxious, and then that had an impact on my mental health. And so listening to you makes me think, if I'd have had those groups at that time, then I wouldn't have felt as anxious, because I'd have been able to problem solve it, and therefore I wouldn't have felt so isolated. And that's what I can relate it back to. I don't know if I'm talking off topic, but that's what it made me think of. Sorry, Julia.
I was just thinking, when you're talking about having given people a different perspective, I used to volunteer at a parent and toddler group, and I remember a lot of the time, because we can be a bit down on ourselves, and what I used to say, but I don't do anything, so what's the point in me being there, right? And then there was a mum who came along with her. I think he was about 6 months old at the time, but he was a little boy with cerebral palsy. And she'd had all the medical spiel and all the, you won't do this, you won't do that, you won't do the next thing. And then she met me. And she was like, and of course I was doing this and that, and talking and having a life and listening, hearing and understanding, and all the things that they had just told her that her child would never do. And then I'm sitting doing the things that she'd been told that her child would never ever do. And that kind of changed my perspective on I don't do anything, because it makes parents like her journey that little bit easier. Now he's 6 and in school. Yeah, so
amazing. And I can relate that to back to Paul coming to our photo shoot on last Monday. In that Mason, who was the youngest little boy who came, who was 3, and his parents, and then the other children that were there, all came with their parents and all met other people, with adults with CP, who were all living good lives and doing the things that they want for their children. And that's the feedback we got from them, was how special the day was, not only because we were making a very strong message to the government, but actually the best bit of the day was that other people were meeting each other and realizing what was possible and what the future could look like for their children.
Do you think younger people are much more accepting now than they were, say, 10, 20, 30 years ago about people with
Very interesting.
disabilities? Because they're at school together. They all go to school together, and they all are in the same class, and they're in the same situations. So do you think that's also helping? Or is it?
Victor, what do you think?
That's a very interesting question. My primary school years were fine. With the kids anyway, the teachers was a whole different thing. Secondary school, not so much.
Right.
Because I was the only person with a visible disability on that sort of level, I was instantly a target for most. Don't even mention snowball days where it used to snow. Used to have to go into school anyway. Very risky for me to walk in the snow anyway, and yet they still made me go in. Don't ask me why. But I was instant target then as well. Let's all throw snowballs at him because he can't dodge. He can't get out of the way of them. Anyway.
Doctor.
I can't speak for what they're like now, but
Something that always makes me laugh, Victor. I don't know it. This whole idea of snow, just because as an adult, I declared, and my children laugh at me, that when it snows, I don't go out. I just don't, and that's my choice. I've made that choice. And when you said then that they still made me go, they still made me go too. And I have such a fear of snow that it's funny that as an adult I can make that decision that that's not what I do.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry you had that experience. I know that
it's fine. It's just one of them things that part of growing up with CP in my eyes anyway. But there's other stuff the schools made me do as well. I don't know if anyone remembers what they called the bleep test. That was a fun one.
What's the
Asthmatic
bleep
with
test? I don't know this.
Me.
there's during physical education, they would make you run from one end of the hall to the other, all of the students, and you have to beat the bleep to the wall to the other end. Of course, me being cerebral palsy with asthma, I didn't even try. Half the time, I just walked it, and they still insisted. I'm like, I'm not gonna run because A, I can't run. I'll end up on my face, and you know that for a fact. And B, I'll have an asthma attack, and I'll have to stop anyway. So,
Do you think, Victor, though, I think, because I had similar experiences, I've once shown Miriam the cross-country route that they used to make me run every week, and then dock all the house points from me when I came last every time. But I'm hoping that in today's day and age, this idea of inclusion doesn't mean, because I think when we were young, what it meant was you had to do everything exactly like everybody else, regardless of whether you were able to do it or not, because otherwise you weren't being completely included. And now, hopefully, people are a little bit more sensible about what it means to have people with disabilities.
I used to say, like, the most memorable argument I ever had with one of my PE teachers was when they tried to get me to do rugby. And just to clarify, in school, I was not only had CP, I was quite skinny. So almost zero muscle mass. And I fall over with a push from a finger, let alone someone tackling me. Can you imagine? It's like putting a newborn, like putting a newborn reindeer up against a train. It's just not going to work. Anyway, sorry, that was a poor analogy. Anyway, moving on.
It was an interesting analogy.
Yeah.
Weird, because like it ain't gonna work. The point is, me playing rugby, even now, I'd probably get flattened, but that's not the point. But it's all about. It all comes back to in education around cerebral palsy. I think I find a lot of doctors and things when their kid gets sick, they pile on all the stuff that they will probably not be able to do, and they forget the word probably. Right? Because I was told, my parents were told he may never walk.
CP.
That's the difference. It was may never. Sorry, Bill, were you? That's the thing. It was. I was told I may not do stuff.
Put me in a home. They are backward about CP.
So they told your parents the same thing, Bill?
My mum said the doctor says put me in a home. They are backward about CP.
Wait, they actually told. Wow. Sorry. They actually told your mum. Man, that's horrible.
But that was a different era.
That's a different era, of course, but it's still horrible.
No, it's still awful.
So, Victor, I think it is about education, because I'm going to tell you a positive story, which I've shared lots of times, which is my children, because they've grown up with me, they're very open about disability. And so when the children who sometimes I pick up their friends, and I get to park in the school car park, which is a huge privilege apparently, and when they walk to the car and my son says, "Oh, come on, mum's parked this way," and they say, "Wow, why is she parked there?" So, "Oh, don't worry about it. She's just got a disability. Just get in the car. It's good." And then sort of, and they kind of talk quite openly about it. It's like a badge of honor. And I'm not saying, and also when he was little, all of his little friends and him came running out of school one day and said, "You've got a wheelchair. Can I see your wheelchair?" And I was like, "Okay." And they were like, "Oh, don't worry. We've been doing transport at school." And my son had put up his hand, and when they said, "What mode of transport
I
can you
can see
think
where this
of?"
is going already.
He said, "Oh, a wheelchair, because that's what my mummy uses to get around." So, I do think
As soon
that
as you said they've been doing transport, I knew where you were going with it
exactly.
straight away.
I'm not saying that we've changed the world, but I do think that it's going to come from the next generation and their acceptance of people with differences.
It's the small steps as well.
Yes, it is. But I am sorry that you had those experiences at school.
Well, it's just part of having it. It's one of those things. But as I've grown older, the added bonus of it is I grew quite a thick skin around it. And I think we'll all agree that you need a thick skin sometimes when it comes to certain people. And
Yes.
one of my favourite comebacks to someone, they said that half my brain don't function. I said, at least I got a brain that functions. It might only half function, but at least it still functions. In my defence, I was 16 at the time. I wasn't exactly the most mature at the point, but yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, go for it, Julia.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what does your daughter, Ruslan, think about living in the UK now?
Well, unfortunately, she can't talk, but we communicate. And judging from her emotions and her emotional feedback, I'm sure she is enjoying living here, and especially visiting a specialized school, Merston School, in our area. We don't have such schools in Ukraine, unfortunately, but here she enjoys the full day of exercises, of joy, of entertainment, of communication. So for us, it's great. And I like this school, I like these teachers, and I know and I feel and I see that my daughter is happy there.
I think listening to you, Ruslan, also it puts into perspective, for me at least, sometimes that things aren't perfect in the UK, but there are other places where things aren't even as good. Attitudes haven't changed as far as where we've come. And I hope that what you see, Ruslan, is that attitudes can change, because I promise the attitudes that you were describing before in the Ukraine were here in the UK, and it's gradually starting to change. So that's good. We've got a few minutes left. I just wanted to use the last few minutes, just because it is Mental Health Awareness Day tomorrow, and one of the strategies that we talked about is about being open and talking. Is there anything else anybody else does that supports them in terms of their the way that they're feeling, or that they want to share, or with anybody before the end of the session? It's all gone quiet. Well, just to say, if there is if you do feel like you're struggling at any point tomorrow or any other point, if you go to our website, there is a whole list of strategies that other people within the community have shared with us that helps them. And there is also a list of telephone numbers of people that you can talk to and reach out to if you feel that you do want to talk to somebody. And some of those are text-based communication. So if you find it easier to text rather than talk, there are those facilities too. So I hope that what I want to be able to provide is not always the answer, but direct you to people that might know more than we do. And Brian, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I was going to ask, oh, hang on, am I on mute?
No, we can hear you.
What's the gimmick? It's maybe technically difficult, but would it be possible to put on our website a sort of chat facility, so any time that people want to just put some on it and maybe answer some other people, would that be a feasible idea?
That is, well, Brian, you were the ones behind the t-shirts and the hats, and it took me a while, but I got there. So I will go away and we'll have a look into it. I think my one concern about it is just having someone to be able to moderate it, because we know what social media can be like.
No, I mean, so it's just only open to group members.
Yeah, maybe we can do that. I will go away and do some investigation into that. You come up with the best ideas. But yeah, that is something that we can have a look into.
That is an idea.
Good. And I know that Ruslan and I and Miriam are talking to each other about how we can improve the support for us as a community too. So watch this space. With saying that, thank you so much for being here this evening. Miriam and I are going to go and pack our cases so that we can represent you all in nice clothes tomorrow. And we will report back from the conference. And next week, Natalie's going to be here, isn't she?
Yeah.
Right. So Miriam and I are not going to be around, but Natalie, who is one of our ambassadors, she used to be one of our trustees, who used to come on a weekly basis, but work stopped that at the moment. But she's going to come and host. And who do we have next week?
So next week we have, in anticipation of Menopause Awareness Day, we have Natalie with Improper Agency, who is the organisation behind the photo shoot that Emma was involved in, trying to represent in a rather comical, light-hearted way the many symptoms that women going through perimenopause have that may also appear invisible. And apparently they're going to be on billboards and bus stations. So you will watch this space with the social media, because you will definitely see us reposting when Emma's comes up. So
we should do an Instagram. Can you spy Emma around the country?
And
in a lurid pink leotard in a group shot, dancing to ABBA. Obviously you won't be able to hear the music, but that's what we were doing. So if you spot me on a bus shelter around the country, do take a photograph and stick it on Instagram and tag us in, and we'll see if we can find me. I can't tell you where I'm going to be, because the company that are providing the advertising space to do it will use the space that's available, and they haven't released that yet. So when I know, I shall share it with you. But if you spy me around the country, do put me on Instagram. Can't believe I'm actually saying this, but we can then raise awareness of the campaign. It's a really lovely campaign. I hope that you enjoy meeting the company that's behind it. They're doing it as part of their they want to do it. They're not getting paid for it. Everything that was done pro bono. They are a creative agency that really felt that they needed to raise the profile of some of those difficulties. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. And if I can pop by, I definitely will do. I will see you all very much next week.
Everyone.
And
Have a good rest
nice
of
to
the
see you,
week.
Sarah.